Hey everybody, I'm Coby Shield and we're back out here at VIR for another episode of Track Tested. And today we have some real crazy cars. You're watching Gears and Gasoline series
Track Tested.
Track Tested.
Track Tested.
With me, Coby Shield. So I'm here with my buddy Seth, and he's got his Subaru BRZ here at VIR, and it's not exactly stock.
Yeah, I bought it new in 2012. It was a daily driver for a long time. Finally paid it off, and I was like, okay, I guess it's time to be a track car. It's set up just for hill climbing. Like, I only do hill climbing with SCCA now. But at the time, you know, my FA20 was kind of on its way out. I think it blew a ringland. So it was starting to smoke a lot. K-Power had just come out with their 8.6 swap kit. At the time, I was like, oh, cheap motors, you know, $1,000 motor. You know, even though I ended up building it and put thousands of dollars into it, at the time it was like cheap. Built sleeve, K24. It's got Darton sleeves, cams that were made specifically for a RACETRACK setup. Forged pistons, rods. We had to go to a bigger ignition system. It started blowing out spark on the dyno. Makes about 520 horsepower to the wheel. Got the RACETRACK supercharger. It sits down low where the air conditioning normally goes.
Yeah, I was to say you don't even see it. Like, that's what's awesome. But like from up top, it just lets you have a car with a big intake manifold. That's about it.
And a crazy header.
Yeah, and the header, was that all custom made?
That was a modified header for a front wheel drive K setup. So we have a full flat floor, so the normal exhaust that goes on the car would start to melt everything, so we had to put the exhaust somewhere non-traditional that'll keep everything from melting.
Yeah, the radiator setup and everything seems very untraditional, and I know you mentioned some sprayers and whatnot too. What all are you doing to keep it cool?
Fully ducted front and back of the radiator. It's kind of tilted more forward to give it more surface area for the air to go over.
Okay.
And then just recently I put intercooler sprayers on the front. If it sees IATs or coolant temp get too high, it'll start spraying everything. Because we only do, you know, like 2-minute long runs on the hill climb. So as long as you can keep it under control for that long, kind of got me nervous out here is it's gonna stay cool.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And like the biggest thing too though is air is so stagnant in those events, right? And the car's sitting for so long. Whereas here, at least it's getting a big amount of airflow kind of all the time.
Completely custom wiring. It's got a Haltech R3 with a PD16 PDM, Haltech IC7 dash, BMW MK60 standalone ABS controlling for brakes and wheel speed.
That's great, man.
It's a lot better than the stock ABS that comes in these cars that'll try to kill you.
Yeah, so I have heard that for everybody at home. Like, and again, Ben's previous video, we talked about ABS issues on track. I have heard that these cars do get pretty temperamental with the OEM ABS system with track pads. Is that true?
Yeah, they'll lock up the rear or try to go into ice mode randomly. With the hill climb environment, there's a lot of really high elevation change switchbacks at low speed, so it's really hard to keep the rear end out under control on the turn exits.
Yeah.
I have a system where I use a secondary throttle body to bleed boost off if it detects too much wheel speed in the Haltech. So the Haltech will open the throttle body up, bleed boost off until it sees the wheel slip come down, and then you should probably just pin the throttle and go. Yeah, with the front aero, you know, this is a full airfoil. It's not just flat on the bottom, so it is a wing, so it's curved. Unlike a traditional splitter, it's not as dependent on ground clearance to work. So, you know, again, with the hill climb, the road surface can be really bumpy or off-camber turns, so you're varying the height of the front aero to the ground a lot. So this is a lot more efficient and tailored to a hill climb. Not to mention how big it is.
Yeah, it literally is a tabletop. We could eat lunch on this. But no, that's great. I didn't even realize that. I mean, it totally makes sense too. And like the front end is actually fairly high compared to what a normal track car would be.
The shock mount towers are a little bit higher. That's because we have really long travel Fortunatos on it that were designed specifically for hill climbing, because you know the off-camber turns, like if you pick a wheel off the ground in one of those turns, it's like you're going to lose traction. So that's one of the big focus areas that are kind of different than a normal track setup, is the long travel. Full radium fuel cell with the surge tank built into it. Kendall Samuel at Mechanical Advantage Racing. This was his wing for his Grid Life car. And he upgraded it, and I got this off of him. Normally run Hoosier A7 like autocross tires. It's like the go-to hill climb tire around here. I didn't want to use up my expensive slicks, so I put some Vittor P1s on, square setup. These are the new 200 treadwear tires everybody's raving about.
And then I guess this is how we start the car.
Yep.
I'm not used to seeing the buttons above us. It's awesome.
Yeah, it kind of keeps it less cluttered.
Okay. And then what do we have going on here? Is this driver cooling?
Yeah, it's got a little 3D printed vent that goes in the back and comes up and blows on you.
It's super cool. And you get enough airflow even in the hill climb stuff?
Yeah, just enough. You know, you can't really feel it with the helmet on, but it keeps it from the hot air being stagnant.
And then I guess the other big deal is the Hall Tech we talked about. So this gives you all of your data, I assume?
Yeah, plenty of data. Got an alarm set up on it.
Yeah, there's not much going on in this car at all. You literally have your pedal box, you have a bias adjuster, and that's it. Like there really is, it makes everything super simple.
You just need to focus on where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 6-speed?
Yeah, it's got a CD09 transmission.
Okay, and what is that out of?
It's out of a 350Z,
okay.
Nissan 350Z.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's a little clunky transmission, but it'll hold the power.
Yeah, I meant to ask that. How much does this car weigh? Do you know roughly?
Dry, it's like 2410.
Oh my gosh, it's so light. All right, well, this thing could absolutely rip.
Yeah. So on the rear, it's got a hill climb specific setup. We don't run rear sway bars.
At all?
No.
So this has no rear sway bar?
No rear sway bar.
Uh-oh. So this could be pretty interesting in the high speed not having a rear sway bar.
Yeah, I couldn't put one back on if I wanted to. So.
Okay, so we're committed. So unfortunately, my microphone has decided to turn itself off inside the car. So you're not going to be able to hear what I'm screaming while I'm driving. So I will try and narrate my experience as best as possible for you guys. So two things immediately stand out to me when I drive this car. A, it's incredibly loud, and B, I'm not able to rev match the engine when I try to heel toe. And that is crucial in a car like this. Seth, before I went out, realized that the car speed sensor wasn't working correctly, so the dash was reading 0 miles per hour. But we didn't think it would be a problem. What we failed to realize, as you can see here, it was a huge problem, not allowing me to heel toe on all my downshifts, and then it's also putting a dramatic pause on all of my upshifts. And worst of all, it makes me look like I don't know how to drive, because that's what's going through my mind right now. One, I'm definitely gonna need to grab my earbuds because my ears hurt that bad. Two, it doesn't want to give me any type of heel toe. Is that normal?
No, it should.
Because like whenever I try to like flip downshift, it just burbles and won't give me anything, if that makes sense. Yeah. I even tried to like hit it hard. Like temps and all that look amazing. It just doesn't want to give me that rev.
It definitely should.
Okay. What the problem later turned out to be was a combination of the wheel speed sensor not reporting any speed, which was causing the car to try and activate launch control every time I revved the engine with the clutch in, and the transmission in gear. But since we didn't know that at the time, Seth disconnected the secondary throttle body and told me to give it another shot. You'll see here how fast this thing actually is. We're motoring cars like they're sitting still, and I'm lifting when I get to the end of the back straightaway. Since this is a hill climb car, it never has a sustained top speed like this. So the downforce that he's running and the aero that he's running has never had to be tested at these speeds. And you realize we just start shedding aero pieces. So we just did an automatic DRS, and then the Wicker decides to leave the chat too, and almost take out 2 cars behind us with it. All of this unbeknownst to me at the time, so I keep pushing like nothing's wrong. And to make matters even worse, we have this monster front splitter hanging off the front of the car and 0 rear downforce to match it. You'll see that I immediately start fighting the car terribly, and the rear end is super loose. Here, as I come through the high-speed kink, there's this little tiny correction, and on camera that doesn't look like much, but I'm actually doing over 130 miles an hour right here, and mentally, the car is trying to kill me. I think it's just because he's disconnected the rear sway bar for better power down in a hill climb setting, but it was that dramatic because I literally don't have a second element on the wing, and that creates all the downforce in a wing setup like that.
So I'm driving this thinking this is just how this car is set up, because he has to run something that has a super soft rear end, has a lot of suspension travel, and rotates really well. So in my mind, I just think that's an inherent hill climb issue trying to come over to a road course setting, but it's actually kind of falling apart behind me. This car is absolutely wicked though, and it's one of the most fun cars I've ever driven on exit of Oak Tree, just on how fast the sheer acceleration is of this thing. And you can see how quickly I'm adjusting my visor, adjusting the mirror. I normally don't have to do that, but the gearing is so short and the car's so fast that I have to be ready to shift every few seconds until I get up to 6th gear. You'll see here that I'm actually hanging the revs again because I'm so nervous on how nervous the rear end is. Even under braking here, you can see the car getting loose again.
Coby's short stint in the BRZ is cut even shorter with the sight of smoke and coolant on the firewall, and he brings it in.
I think a coolant line or something might have let go because it said it started to creep. It got to about 217 and then it said coolant too hot, so I cooled it off. But I saw fluid over here and I wasn't sure if that was normal.
On the overflow, it's oil. Look, it blew oil out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it just made me slip off the plug.
No, it's definitely.
Dash never gave me any of those warnings. It was only a coolant warning. And again, like, it gave me the warning at 218.
Yeah.
And so I shut it down right then. So I don't know. But all I do know, and I'm not even exaggerating any of this, that is the loudest, scariest car I've ever driven on this track in my life. It's like I came through the kink like full bore that first lap. I was like, oh, I'll throw something together. And literally the whole rear end's doing this through the kink, and I don't know how fast I'm going because the speed sensor's not on there. It had to have been every bit of 130 probably.
Holy
I was in 6th. So I don't know where 6th is, but she was cooking.
Yeah, and lost the wing. We're finding limits.
I'm so sorry.
Seth looks over the car in the pits and makes some discoveries.
All right, buddy, so what'd we figure out once we looked at the data?
Well, you definitely see the coolant hose split open, so the coolant pressure dropped a little bit.
Okay.
It thought it was at 0 miles per hour the whole time, so the launch control was not deactivating above 5 miles per hour, which caused the clutch, every time you press the clutch in, the downshift was causing chaos. Well, that didn't stop you from blowing the rear wing off.
Yeah, and we lost the rear wing. So I think what this means is we need to just sort it out a little bit and come back for some redemption.
I just want to reiterate, Seth's car is an incredible technical achievement. He was brave enough to bring his car, which was built for an entirely different motorsports discipline, out to VIR, a racetrack with some of the highest top speeds in America, and let a complete stranger thrash it. That takes guts, and cars at this level of performance always, always, always break in one way or another. This is exactly the kind of car I want to drive on track tested, one where you get out and you're thankful you're still alive.
Well guys, due to some day-ending issues, we are no longer going to be able to finish filming with the BRZ, but we're not going to leave here empty-handed. My friend Nick here is nice enough to let us drive his beautiful second-gen Viper, and we're going to see if we can throw something together for you.
So factory, they came with an 8-liter V10 push rod motor, super basic.
So we could put almost like 4 BRZ motors in this, essentially,
Probably,
for the same
yeah,
size.
Exactly. No replacement for displacement.
I like it.
My last stroker motor blew up, so I got a backup engine and trans in it, so I could do some HPDs every once in a while, and I've got a 9-liter coming from Calvo in the next couple weeks. Stock head, stock cam. It does have aftermarket headers and exhaust system, but other than that, nothing's really been changed to add any power or anything. Factory, they came with about 450.
Okay.
It's fairly healthy, and I haven't had any issues with it. So the engine is nice and strong. Transmissions had some abuse, but it's still, everything's working good as far as that goes.
A big front splitter on it. Is this something you had made or you made? Or?
So 90% of the aero in the car is all made by Autoform Viper. They kind of specialize in 2nd gen and 3rd and 4th gen Vipers. The splitter extension is just a piece of plywood that I threw on the bottom of it to kind of get a little bit more downforce.
Yeah.
The wing is a Mark Taylor composite ACR Extreme replica wing.
Okay.
So the biggest factory wing, one of the most downforce wings that came on any factory cars.
This is the wing that they said actually hurt the gas mileage of the truck towing it, correct? When that car came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Momo steering wheel, quick disconnect. It does have a aftermarket short shifter, works pretty good. Really, there's not a whole lot, 2 little switches that you're seeing on the dash. That's for the diff cooler and the trans cooler.
What tires are we running this weekend?
So we've got a set of 315 Hoosier R7s up front and 335s in the rear.
Okay.
They've got 1 heat cycle on them, so it should be nice and sticky for you out there. Yeah, my fastest lap in this car when I had my last motor was a 2025.
Okay.
And that was before the aero that's on it now. So I know my springs are a little soft.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm trying to work on and figure out now.
Well, and the biggest thing I'm sure you saw is like, I would say probably like later braking and braking stability was probably so much better with this setup.
Yeah.
Like with all that extra downforce.
100%.
The sitting position in these cars is always so weird because your feet are offset way to the left. Camera doesn't always pick that up, but it makes for an interesting drive for sure. I've driven plenty of 5th gen Vipers, but I've never driven a 2nd gen or a 3rd gen or a 4th gen. So we're going from the newest to one of the oldest, which will be very different for sure. So there is no ABS and no traction control. So these are definitely a driver's car. Rear end is very soft to me. It's gonna take a little bit of getting used to. Very pointy. The first thing I notice is just how pointy these cars are. You have to give them very, very little input at speed. The steering rack is super, super tight, so you have to be very careful at high speed.
Coby finds out early on that the transmission might be pretty tricky to get into gear sometimes. With shakedown laps completed, it's time to go for a fast lap.
This car brakes really, really well for no ABS. These cars are so deceiving with the noise they make. They sound like you're going 2 miles an hour. Thank you for the point by. Here we go, run another good lap. There we go. Another good oak tree, send it. There we go. Come on, baby, come on. Go, drop it in, back to full power. Let's go, baby, come on. Another good lap, come on. Missed my shift, dang it. I missed 5th, because all I was doing was thinking about missing 5th. And that's what happens. Man, this thing's awesome. I just thought about it too much. 5th gear's tricky in this car and I couldn't get it, but damn, this thing's fun. The biggest places in the uphill S's here, you feel the left rear really take a set and really be bouncy. It's like I'm sitting on the bump stops or something, which I may be, so that would be the biggest change I'd make, is just stiffen up the rear end of this car a good bit.
Well, I want to give a huge shout out to the owners of both of these vehicles. Thank you so much to Seth for bringing out this absolute monstrosity. Thank you very much to Nick for entrusting us with your very nice Viper. We actually had another car here, and just to give you an idea of what it's like to film track tested with highly modified cars, it never even made it on camera because it was broken before we showed up. So we're trying to get some real rowdy stuff for you guys to watch. It is really tough to film high-strung cars consistently lap at a racetrack, but we're doing our best. Thank you so much to Tidewater Sports Car Club for hosting us and making it really easy to get out here and film. Coby, you've driven 2 very different cars today. Why don't you give me your impressions?
The BRZ was the wildest, most insane death trap of a vehicle I've ever driven in my life. And I had the time of my life in it, and I hope it comes back because it needs a proper shakedown. We unfortunately weren't able to get any laps in it other than the out lap, but it's wild.
So unfortunately, I think we know the BRZ did not get a representative lap time. What did you actually get to run?
I ran a 216.
216?
Yeah, it was bad.
That's like a Miata.
I know, we got to have our boy back. It's not a good representation at all.
Yeah.
I was ready to retire. But we had some redemption in the Viper.
Okay, what did the Viper run?
So it ran a 201 flat. I couldn't find 5th and watch the relative just dump. So without driver amateur error, it would have been like a 2-minute 0.7. But either way, we're still 7/10 faster than the M2. And we have a brand new fastest car on track.
The fastest car we've ever had on track test.
Who would have thought it'd be a 90s Viper, bro?
Yeah, probably nobody.
Yeah, well, all our Japanese people, German people at home, this is what you gotta beat, dude.
Yeah.
Which, the car that we were gonna have on here today was gonna be pretty insane and would have probably murdered the record. So Ben is doing a great job at trying to find some cars. So anybody please, for something that wants to kill me, but not literally kill me, email my guy.